Hi, welcome back to Weatherford Daze. Jason is back with us today. We were really thrilled to have Leia last week, but it's good to have you back.
On the
and
comfy couch in my spot.
yeah, so we kind of went on our little journey during the month of January
Mm-hmm.
through some of our favorite kids books, and then we did a kids movie. So we thought, hey, why don't we just continue on, but kind of pick a little bit of a different genre? We're doing kids movies, but specifically kids musicals for the month of February. We thought that would be really fun.
They don't necessarily have to have kids in them, but actually some of these do.
All of them have kids in them. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
okay. I thought you were saying kid friendly. Like these are ones that you could have,
No.
Oh, okay. I thought that was part of it.
We're doing kids musicals that feature kids.
Okay.
So, yeah, because I love musicals and I love kids and I love February. And February is the month of love. So, we're
You
going
love
to do
you
things
love
that I love.
you love. I am not as huge a musical nerd as you are. That's not a musical nerd is not a down play on that statement. Bad statement at all.
True musical nerds know that that is not a derogatory statement.
Gotcha.
That is a point of pride.
Gotcha. I thought so,
Yes.
and I think that some that I've never watched or been interested in, you have brought into my life,
Mhm.
and I have found things to like about said musicals. But I think you and the girls, especially, I would say, are big musical nuts on that. So
Well, I
I have some I
just
like.
happen to think that musicals honestly are the best type of movie because who wouldn't want to bring music into it? And along with music, you typically have dancing, you're showing off talent, instrument playing. I mean, it brings all of the best things in the world together.
It's a way to tell a story. It's just as good as dialogue or a camera angle.
Mhm.
It all brings, I don't like an empty song in a musical. There's some
Yeah.
songs where you're like, but
But
then some really
music
hit.
is the language of the emotions, of the soul. It's the way that you really can express yourself in even more in-depth way than just through speech. It's why movies in general have themes, soundtracks behind them. And they're such an important part of setting the mood and setting the feelings and for, what's happening in the scene. A
Okay,
musical just
yeah,
takes that, you know, 20 steps further.
and communicating the uncommunicable, like
Mhm.
something that that character sometimes can't even say out loud. They can say it in the song, and sometimes people will just be walking by and they can't even hear them sing it, and they're just singing it, expressing themselves. So yeah,
And who wouldn't want to be singing about how they're feeling and have the entire world just stop and join them in how they're feeling right then?
I think a lot of
I
people
mean,
think the world
it's
revolves around, but
but it
in musicals,
really
it really
is how to
can.
go,
Yeah,
it's embracing the main character energy and saying, "You know what? For this moment, my feelings are so strong that in this world that I've created, everybody joins me in expressing how I'm feeling." I mean, you think about Hello Dolly.
or West Side Story with the gangs
Yeah,
fighting. They're like the Jets are our Jets is always no. That's terrible.
there's nothing better to me than just, that how everything just stops and for a moment everything on screen is revolving around how one character is feeling. Anyway, we haven't actually told
Right.
which movie musical we're going to be talking about today. And honestly, I think this one is one of the best that there is. I mean, there's some good ones. We're going to be talking about some good ones this month, but this is
This one is. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from
Yes.
1971. It's directed by David Wolper. I don't know anything else David Wolper's ever done. I do. It's based off of the book by Roald Dahl,
Mhm.
um, who also he did Danny Champion of the World. What's some other ones? Oh my goodness. The
Fantastic.
big, yes, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Mhm.
He did Big Friendly Giant. Those are
Mhm.
just some of his lesser knowns, but this is a really well known one. I think he did Matilda as well. But the thing is, I think that he did not like that the musical was being made. I think that he had some issue with it, and they went ahead and did it anyway,
I have to say,
with or without his blessing. But
I
you know,
have read the book.
yeah.
I like the movie better. So the fact that he didn't like the movie actually does kind of track because I don't tend to actually be a huge fan of his writing.
Yeah.
I think that, the movie directors took something that I don't think was necessarily top tier writing and they turned it into something that was really extraordinary.
Well, one thing that did last longer than the movie was the music,
Mhm.
because there are a couple instances. I know. Here's one: the song "Candyman," the
Mhm.
"Candyman Can" song, actually got real popular because Sammy Davis Jr. did that song. Sammy Davis with the Rat Pack. He did that song,
Mm.
and that was a big hit song for him. And I think I saw it was either I think it was Ready Player One. They did the little motif from Pure Imagination, and because that movie is about pure imagination in the digital world, they
Oh.
used that. And I went, oh, but again, a lot of people. Those are two things that I picked up on. But other than that, that's the thing I remember most about this movie is the imagery and the music. So what? Okay, so what are your favorite things about this movie?
Okay. For one thing, I mean, just start at the very beginning, right?
Yeah,
That it has one of the most iconic title or like during the credits with all of the candy and stuff.
the almond, like the nuts, those
Yeah,
almonds rolling down, little
just the
kisses,
chocolate.
little doing the little thing. Yeah, and then the liquid flowing and
That was like ASMR before ASMR was invented.
yes,
I
it
mean,
was
just
visual. Yeah,
captivating.
what do they call them? Satisfying videos, where people like watch things.
Mhm.
There's a lot of
Just
factor.
watching the
Yeah.
chocolate flowing and then the drops with the candy kisses and stuff. It's so good. But
Well, we liked the crayon creation scene in on Mister Rogers. So that
mhm,
this is just something that you can eat.
which makes it all the better, right? I mean, who doesn't love sweets? Who doesn't love
Somebody
candy?
is in this world is going to have some kind of reaction to that in a bad way, and they probably think that's the worst scene ever. And I'm sorry, that's okay. But look, it's chocolate.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
chocolate.
I
Come on
mean,
now.
most people like chocolate.
Okay, yeah.
There are some people that don't, but there's other kinds of candies
They
and
can be
sweets
wrong.
in this
You,
movie
this
too.
this is a free country. You can be wrong.
Yeah. It's just so visually captivating from the very beginning. You've got the bright colors and the candy and just, it's this world that you want to fall into. It reminds me of when one of the very first book series that I read as a kid
Hmm.
that I really enjoyed was Raggedy Ann and Andy.
Mm.
And in Raggedy Ann and Andy, that's one thing that, they go out on adventures into the woods, right? Or the forest. It's like the big, big woods or something like
Yeah.
that. It's been a little while since
Looks
I've
sounds
watched
like
that
it's been a
anyway.
little while. Right. Right.
But they will come upon like lollipop bushes and then like puddles that are actually they look like mud puddles, but they're ice cream puddles
Mm.
and soda fountains that are just, out there. And it's just this really captivating thing, but it's, the jelly bean bushes and that kind of stuff where it's just these sweets that are just growing out there.
Well,
And
what
they have the little
scene
candy hearts, so it makes sense that, Raggedy Ann and Andy are just finding these little treats all over the place wherever they go.
right?
And it kind of reminds me of that, of just that very fantastical, very childlike, yeah, you're
The
gonna
pure
want to
imagination
fall
scene is
into.
100% that, because that's the one
Mm,
where they come in, when they first really see what, and he says, "Almost everything in this room is eatable."
mhm.
And it's one of the best scenes ever, and they're just, like, taking things off trees, and just there's even a part where he absent I was watching it the other day, he absentmindedly just eats a leaf. And just I was like,
Mhm.
I was wondering, was that leaf really edible, or is Gene Wilder just dedicated to his craft and he's just gonna eat it?
I know one of the things that my girls loved was the little, he has little
The
teacup
teacup. You can
flowers,
tell which one
and
is the
then
eatable one because
sips
he
it,
picks it.
and then he just bites the
Yeah,
thing. We actually, for a birthday party one time, we did like little
I remember
edible
that.
teacup things, and yeah,
Was it like a sugar glass almost? No, no, we got like
we
sugar.
used ice cream cones.
Oh, right, right. And
Yeah,
then you
and
make the
then
little,
filled it up
yeah.
with like a mousse.
That's right. I remember.
Mhm.
That's coming back to me now.
Yeah. But it's just so fantastical in the most childlike way because it's full of it's a chocolate factory.
It reminds me of that game Candyland,
Yeah.
because the way
Mhm.
the Candyland is built in the
Yeah.
game. Yeah,
And if there's anything that to a child would represent heaven, it's going to be a candy chocolate factory, you
right.
know? There's nothing more wondrous that I can think of that a child would want to explore than that. So, you're giving this, and that's another thing
Hmm.
that I love, that every single one of the golden ticket winners
Yes.
is a child.
Yes.
So you've got this contest that's announced, but somehow, some way, the winners are all children. Seems very.
And the adults are trying to get it. Do you remember,
Mhm,
there's these little vignettes, and they're the comedy, almost comedy vignettes, where this lady, I think her husband is like kidnapped, and they ask for the ransom. They ask for a golden ticket, and and they're like, "Ma'am." She goes, "I'm thinking about it." So
mhm.
she's like, "I'm not going to give up a golden ticket for my husband, to come back."
It's not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems, and the thing is, in the end, we'll skip one little quick thing at the end, is he says that he wouldn't want it to be an adult because they would do it their own way. And they wouldn't
Mhm,
do it the Willy Wonka way. They wouldn't do it the way I see things. And the thing is, the way he sees things is the childlike way that you would look at candy, and the way, and a world of pure imagination that he still has, that he
mhm.
hasn't let go of, that he is, it's his life. And all the adults, I'd say all the adults, well, except for maybe Grandpa Joe, but all the adults are
Grandpa Joe
just
failed that too.
terrible. Yeah, but
Yeah.
nobody's perfect, and we can talk about that
But well,
part
that
of
is
it.
the thing. I mean, let's just go ahead and jump to it. I
Yeah.
mean, the symbolism is there from the very beginning of, Willy Wonka kind of represents God, right? You have this heaven, this, kind of
Or
perfect
an
thing.
Eden, and
Mm.
you can't. He said you can eat anything
Mhm.
here except for the chocolate river. You got to leave that alone. And the little chocolate river.
Yeah.
And then
But
he goes, "You're ruining my chocolate. You basically, you've introduced human. You've corrupted it." And I'm like,
right.
"That's the the tree of good and evil." I don't know.
But you have from the very beginning the test, the tempter
Yeah,
that's introduced, where you have the, you know, what's his
Slugworth.
Slugworth, yeah. Where you've got Slugworth that comes and every time that one of the kids wins a ticket, he comes up and you see him like whispering to them, right? And it turns out that he's offering them uh
He wants like a particular candy, a
right.
type of candy,
He
because the
says, this
secrets.
the everlasting gobstopper, and if you give me if you just get one for me
Yeah,
and bring it to me, then then you find out, obviously, in the end, spoilers, that that was a test set up by Willy Wonka, that Slugworth was working for him to see which one of the kids is actually going to pass the
because he had to
test.
know that they were genuine.
Hmm.
Now, I did read up on where Roald Dahl got the idea for this. Back in Britain, real quick, there was two companies, Cadbury, you know Cadbury, right? They do the cream eggs,
Hmm.
right? And Roundtree, and they were rivals. And they would actually have people that would pose as employees of those and sneak in and get secrets. And he was like, oh, so that's actually what happened for real. And then he goes, what if, we could do, what if we could make it part of the story? And so in the story, Willy Wonka actually shuts his factory down because of that. That's why he gets the Oompa Loompas, because no one ever leaves, no one ever comes in.
Hmm.
And that way he knows he can trust the Oompa Loompas, and that he knows that people who try to sneak in, they'll be like, oh, I know you, you're a you're a spy, you're a bad guy, instantly. And so he wants those things to not get out, the secrets. But he always gives them a chance to do that, like especially with the gum, the everlasting gobstopper, and then there's the gum. There's all these little things that are just like ready made to grab, be portable, and head out with. And even the one girl, they're like, you can promise you guys won't do anything, and she puts her hands behind her back and does the little
Hmm.
cross fingers. And I'm like, yeah, but they all succumb to their temptations, and it's all just, it's not real and genuine stuff. And they're always loud, and they're always yelling, and Charlie Bucket, the main boy that ends up being the hero there, he's very quiet and just kind of comments about little things, and he's never really seeks his own. He's it's wondrous. He one bar of chocolate, he's enamored of that. I mean, he was so happy with that one bar of chocolate, and he was even going to give away the pieces to his family members. And everybody else, they didn't want just that; they want more and more and more, and it's just greed. But
I
yeah,
think they were highlighting what, that poverty does make you more thankful. And I think that that is a pretty important theme. All of the other kids, they had just had things given to them and they didn't appreciate the single piece of chocolate. They didn't, I mean, when you've been given everything, how are you supposed to appreciate anything?
well, it starts with your parents,
Yeah.
because who look at who
But that's a
Charlie has,
very
yeah, and look
it's
at
a
how
very
they
strong
have.
theme of, at the same time that they have all of this excess
Mm.
and you see, at the very beginning, you're seeing so much chocolate and so much candy. And then you see this very big contrast right from the beginning of Charlie Bucket and his family and not having anything, and it's showing just this disparity, this idea of there are people in this world who have an abundance, who have more than they need, and there are people in this world who don't have enough. And, it's important to be grateful, to be thankful, to have that attitude of going, what, I know what it's like to not have enough. And so I can appreciate that. And that the idea is that, Charlie will be able to carry that lesson that he learned from a very young age through his entire life of not taking those things for granted.
And his mom is concerned about him, even though he seems to be content and somewhat happy kid and kind hearted. His mom, tries to give him the best that she can, but it's from the song,
But
"Cheer Up,
she
Charlie." She's kind of
represents,
sad that he's kind of, you know, she doesn't want his sunshine to fade, I think is what that says to
yeah, yeah, I can see that. She kind of does represent most every parent though, right?
me. Yeah.
In that she's going, I am working so hard and I'm trying to give you the world, but I know that I'm always going to fall short of being able to do what I want to do. And I think that most every parent has felt that of going, no matter how hard I try, I feel like I can never quite do and give my child everything that I want to be able to give them. But you also see that, you know, a lot of times it's just the trying and the love that you give as a parent. And I love that that's there, that it's, Charlie is just going, I'm just thankful for what I have. I'm thankful for the love that I have. And I've gotten so much from this. Like, he had character from that young age that none of the other kids had because of the experiences.
Didn't he? Didn't it shows when he brings the bread for everybody to have, and the mom's like, "Oh, we're gonna have just a feast." I'm like,
Mhm.
"It's a loaf of bread," and they're really looking at that as that's amazing. And so
They were
that's
grateful.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a gratitude that's there. So, yeah, I think that that's a very big contrast, and it's a very important thing.
Also, any of you out there who subscribe to this theory, I forgive you, but you're wrong. The theory you might not know that
Okay.
the theory is about Grandpa Joe. That Grandpa Joe, he's just laying in bed all the time, and all of a sudden, when he knows that this golden ticket's there, he jumps right up and dances, and he's just it's supposedly on the internet. Yeah, I'm sorry. They were saying something about that he was lazy or something, and I was like, look, that's not true. It awakened in him a joy and a hope,
Mhm.
and that's what the golden ticket was. And it wasn't, he still wobbled around.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of people have the theory that each one of the other people that went to the factory represented a different one of the sins,
Oh, what the yeah.
like gluttony and
I don't think it's one for one, but close. It's
right.
close.
And I think that a lot of times people say that
Envy,
that
greed.
they that he represented sloth. But
No, I don't
to
see it.
me, yeah, I don't see it. To me, the he kind of represented a hopelessness or giving up. Where you've got Charlie who still has this idea that, he has hope. He has hope for his future, for change. I feel like all of the grandparents kind of had just gone, this is what it's going to be. This is the best that it will ever be. We're just kind of biding our time until we die.
Well, they have a reward, and if if you've seen the film, you know that they and he does, and Charlie asks, he said, "What about my grandpa? What about my mom? What about?" He asks about his family.
Hmm.
It's not just you get the chocolate factory, of course. Okay, well, what about my yeah, and then he says they can all come to live there. So he cares about other people more than he does just himself,
But I
because it wouldn't
think
be the same without
that
them.
to them, the golden ticket was the first glimmer of hope that they'd had in a very long time. And it's very easy when you've been just walking day after day after day with it. That's the Bible verse. Hope deferred makes the heart sick,
Right.
right? I feel like that's what they represent more than sloth is just that their
Despair.
hearts were sick. There was a despair
Yeah.
there. They didn't have the hope to be able to face the day and get up because they went, nothing's going to change. We're still going to be facing, and the mom, you're seeing the contrast of she's still going, she feels like she's losing hope,
Yeah.
like she can't, that she will end up like the parents if things don't change, but she's still fighting.
I think
But
she
there's
doesn't want
just,
Charlie
she's
to lose hope
tired. Right.
more than anything. She sees that he still is the next generation. He still has a
Mhm.
chance. That she's kind of had a rough life, but he still could maybe come out of this, and he does. And so it's
But you kind of see her heading that way of going, I'm tired
yeah,
and I don't feel like I'm making a difference. I feel like I'm going through the motions and I'm trying to do what I can for my child, but I don't feel like anything is ever going to change.
right,
She's not where the the grandparents are, but she's definitely further along that road
yeah,
of going, there's not going to ever be a change. And to me, that's the story more than anything, is that, Charlie, he gets that grace given to him to actually be able to change things not only for himself but for his mother and for his grandparents who had already given up hope.
Right.
And if anything, for me, that's what I want the most in any story.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned that before is a story needs to have hope. There needs to be this glimmer of, no matter how bad a situation may be, that there is some good in the world, that there's some light, that there's hope, that there's, a possibility for change. And this story represents that. And yeah, there's there's a lot of themes that people pull from that. But for me,
Yeah.
it's the hope.
And the imagery of the movie and the music work so well together. It's very, you have to kind of go with the logic of things and sometimes the illogic of things. And it all comes down to a great performance by Gene Wilder.
Mm.
I find myself, when he shows up on screen, I don't want him to leave the screen. I'm in. Yes, everybody's performance well done, but he's the one I focus on because he's always got some kind of there's even part where he's just behind some machinery, just looking around, like, and he almost like he has like a little bit of askew, kind of like, he'll say something. Oh, this mixture's too cold, and he'll put a coat in the mixture, and you're just like,
He's
or he
larger
gives it a
than life.
yes, and
That's one of the things that in the remake, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
yeah, the one
that's
with
one of the things
Burton, Tim
that,
Burton.
yeah. But I mean, as much as I think that Johnny Depp did a fabulous job as Willy Wonka, I didn't like the humanizing of him to the point where, it in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you get the backstory, all of this, whereas Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it's a lot easier to say, okay,
He's a
yeah, he's representing
mysterious
God
he's a
because
mysterious
he's so
figure
mysterious,
too.
he's so larger than life. He seems kind of all knowing. You don't know how he
Or
knows
you
and
don't know
how he
why he is
arranged.
the mystery. It
Right.
leaves the mystery. And I think
Hmm.
when they start to do those little moments where they go into Willie's backstory, I'm like, yeah, no, I could do without,
Yeah, you've
frankly.
just kind of sucked all of the mystery out of it and you've humanized him too much. Whereas to the point where we're now feeling sorry for him versus, having kind of this awe of how cool he is.
It is. There's many elements of the remake though that are more like the book.
Mm.
One that I'll point out is close, but it sidesteps an issue. I don't know if in the earliest version, the Oompa Loompas were African pygmy type characters, and in the remake, they're played by an Indian, a very short Indian man named Deep Roy, and he's brown skinned, and that's as close as it gets. The Oompa Loompas in this in the other one are just people of short stature with orange faces and green hair. And and I think this is in the book, don't they? Whenever something bad happens to a kid, they do a little poem or a song, and he writes in the book. And in this, they turn it into an actual song
Mm.
in the both versions. But I I greatly like the original song better. It's
Yeah.
very it's just it's not as creative. I get that, but for me, it's more memorable, and I can just kind of hear it in my head right now.
They kind of took something that was magical and mystical and bigger than life in a very, fantastical and sweet way
Yeah,
and turned it kind of very psychedelic.
and there's a little bit of even though the original movie wasn't it didn't have a dark palette to it. I
Mhm.
noticed that the Tim Burton one, a lot of his movies have a dark
Yeah,
palette.
that's just Tim
If
Burton.
it's a bright color, it's a dark bright color. And with this other one, it was not afraid to just hit you with the yellows and the greens and make the screen pop.
Mhm.
And the darkness, it was what the children's decisions. I blame the parents though. If you watch the original,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff has to, you mentioned it, a lot of that stuff has to start with somebody. It didn't start with these kids.
Mhm.
And it's what, what do you do when no one's looking? What's your character when no one's looking?
Mhm.
And I mean, even Willy Wonka is just sitting there. No, please don't do, stop. And they're doing it anyway. And he's watching them. And the sad part, I think, was where a simple mistake of Grandpa Joe and Charlie drinking the fizzy lifting
Mhm.
soda or whatever, and they kind of had a misstep. But even though Charlie thought I'm I messed up, I'm not going to get it, he did not use that as an opportunity. Even though Grandpa Joe said, "Yeah, we ought to give that thing to Slugworth," he's like, "No,
You know what I love the best about that?
what
I think that it represents that nobody's perfect. And the most important thing is repentance.
forgiveness?" Yeah, as well.
Yeah, I mean, forgiveness, sure, but I mean, maybe Willy Wonka forgave all of the kids. He let all of them go. They all left. Yes, they left changed,
Uh huh.
but they all got to leave. But the one who actually got the reward was Charlie. And
The
that was
true reward.
because,
Yeah.
yeah, of actually becoming, his apprentice.
Yeah, in
But
the books, they have trucks with candy that they leave with,
mm,
and you're like, okay,
yeah,
Charlie gets the true
they
reward.
all got what he said they would get. They said you get a lifetime supply of chocolate, right? That was the prize. They got that prize. But, they all did mess up, but none of the others showed repentance for it. They all felt entitled to do what they did. They didn't go, "You're right, I was wrong. And not only was I wrong, I'm not going to betray you,"
Right.
which Charlie did. And that was the thing at the very end was, you see all of them with their parents going, "Yeah, we're going to go sell this to Slugworth.
Yeah.
We'll get our reward and we're going to get, what he promised us."
And when the
And
kid didn't,
Charlie
yeah,
or
Grandpa Joe,
Grandpa Joe was like, "Come on, well, we'll go,
well, give
give
it to
this to
Slugworth.
Slugworth."
Yeah, we'll show
And
him.
Charlie's like, "No." And
Yeah.
he hands it back.
And notice all the other parents, whenever the kid something happened to their kid, they're like, "We're gonna sue you, and
Hmm.
you're a monster." And I'm just like, "Okay, sure."
But you don't see the repentance,
No.
the acknowledgement that, yeah, I did mess up. I failed. And I don't deserve to have gotten the reward. And I think that more than anything, that's such a Christian theme.
So shines a good deed in a weary world.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, going, you see Charlie's true heart there, that he goes, "I messed up. I accept the blame. I accept my punishment that I lose. And I also, at the same time, am not going to try and get revenge, get payback." He understood what that would do to sell, to give that, to betray Willy Wonka. Everyone else went, "We don't like the way you treated us. We're willing to betray you." And Charlie wouldn't do that.
Not to get the biblical parallel, but hey, let's just have fun with it.
Mhm.
What's the first thing he has them do when they come in the door? Is they read
They signed the contract.
they read the words on the
Mhm.
contract, and they are unable to read all of it at one go. So there's it reminded me of the 600 rules of the old covenant law, and you're not going to be able to keep all of them. You don't even know what all of them are, and and you're going to mess up. And everybody signs them anyway. And even he does. Even Charlie does.
Mhm.
The grandpa says, "We've got nothing to lose."
Mhm.
So because they have nothing, and everybody else is like, "Well, what if what if this happens or whatever?" And he's like, "This is the you have to sign on that dotted line, you
Mhm.
know? And even though in there, according to Wonka, he's later on, he said, he, he's yelling at him and he's like, it says, in this clause, number 4, whatever, he says, if you drank the fizzy lifting drinks, you did what I didn't do, you get nothing, good day, sir.
Mhm.
And even though that might have been in the contract, he still was able to go, you know what, I can take it back. I wrote it. I can take it back because it's there to filter out
Mhm.
and to see who is who. And I saw your true heart in spite of or because of the law. So say what you will. We can see we're getting kind of theological, but that's what I thought of.
Mhm.
Can't help it. But the thing that I liked about it though was that you thought that he was wrathful, but it wasn't the true feelings. And I like the fact that each situation was just perfect for one of the kids. Like Mike TV was the kid who was teleported across the room
Mhm.
in using TV type stuff. The other one was a girl. Then she wanted the gum really really bad. The one thing is with Veruca Salt and the Golden Goose is actually they did it correctly in the remake with the squirrels
Mm.
getting the nuts because her dad. There's a part earlier on where he says, "Mr. Salt, what do you do for a living?" He said nuts. So that's his business is nuts. And I thought it was interesting that squirrels and bad nut. She's a bad nut. This one
Mhm.
was bad egg. But either way, it's ultimate greed because that golden egg. It's going to keep laying those golden eggs, and that's unlimited wealth. But she wanted everything. Veruca Salt wanted the boat until it was scary. I don't want it anymore. Or I want this. I want that. I want an Oompa Loompa for my own. And you're like, that's a human being, sweetheart. You can't do that. But he was just saying, I'll get one for you later. She wants to be. She got to
Mhm.
be first down the chute. But yeah. But it's interesting that nobody died. There was, he talked about the threat of death, but nobody died. They all left, but they left not with the ultimate reward. Ultimate reward was a place of pure imagination. It was a place for them to ultimately to never have to worry about a house anymore. They've got a place to live. They've got everything they need, and that's what happened later on. He's in the Wonka Vader at the end. He says, you ever heard what happened to the person who got everything they ever wanted? He goes, no, what? He goes, he lived happily ever after. Yeah. And I really love the genuineness of Willy Wonka after he reveals that part of himself. Is you can when he's hugging Charlie, just like there's something special about him as an actor in every role he's ever done. There's something. And when he's yelling, when he's when he's on the boat yelling, I was just like, he does that a lot. He does that just really high pitched yelling and with a straight face, and it's I think it's one of his things. So he puts a little bit of himself, I think, a style in every one of his roles. And he passed away quite a few years ago, but salute Gene Wilder. The little boy.
You've been jumping around a lot there.
Yeah, the little boy. What's his name? Peter Ostrom, who plays Charlie. He actually, this was his only role. He did this and then he quit. And he's a veterinarian in New York. What would be your favorite song? You
Oh, that's hard. Um,
can pick a couple.
Pure Imagination is probably my favorite one. I mean, I love Cheer Up Charlie. I like the Candyman.
I will
The
tell.
Oompa Loompa song is good. They're
Well,
so
let's put it this
good.
way. Okay, in terms of like, if I were to pick top tier, I would go Pure Imagination, and then I would do Golden Ticket.
Yeah.
I would not. Strangely enough, no offense to everybody, but I've heard the Candyman song so many times by different artists. See, Candyman, and Chirp Charlie I'd put in the same thing. And then all in between there, between Pyramid, those two, I'd put all the Oompa Loompa songs. Those
Okay.
all the Oompa Loompa songs are one song to me because they're
Mhm.
all they're very similar and they're fun. They're really fun. But this the songs in this are they're very fun. You find yourself humming them or singing them,
Mhm.
when you're watching the movie. And the thing is, there are musicals that are like 2.5, 3 hours long with intermission. And if you
Mhm.
don't know what that is, then you are Gen Z probably. Okay, so but this one is an hour and a half. It just flies by.
Mhm.
There's not a wasted moment that doesn't add to the movie in some either emotionally or whatever. It's a classic for a reason. I I think I think I think it has more of an indelible mark than the book even does. I think
Yeah.
that's my thought on it.
I think that that's one of the things that does make musicals kind of unique. I think most musicals typically are better than the books. And that's going to be really odd coming from me, who's the books are always better than the movies. But
Well, I don't, some of
musical
them,
just
yeah,
it adds something so unique.
some of them are based off of historical situations. Like I don't know if there's
Mm,
an actual book for the Von Trapp family that they base that on, but I know that some of them are based
mhm,
off of an actual fictional story.
mhm,
I know that the Mary Poppins was for Travers, I think was her name. They come to. I don't think they're all based off of fictional things, but when they
mhm.
are, they're better than the books. Yeah, you're right. They
Um,
did actually make a stage musical version of this. They used some of the music from it. So if you haven't seen this movie musical, you should. That's I guess the point that I was trying to make.
okay. So I do think that oddly enough, this really does it tracks well with being, Willy Wonka is kind of God. He has a tempter working for him. All of the kids, they
The
mess
factory is
up.
his
All
kingdom,
of the
is the kingdom of God.
all of the temptations are directly tailored to them in a way that doesn't make sense that he would know and be able to set up the temptations, unless he had some kind of omniscience, right? I mean, you were talking about how each of the temptations was uniquely tailored to them.
Right,
Like that just says something about how much larger than life Willy Wonka is. And that only makes sense. And I mean, it really is why I think that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is just so much better than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Is
yeah,
that they keep that mystical that doesn't work when you give such a backstory to Willy Wonka that you actually start feeling sorry for him and he's just become a human with flaws himself
yeah,
versus being, this all-knowing kind of all-powerful being that is setting up these temptations perfectly tailored to each of the kids and what they're, you know, going to give into that's, set to truly reveal their biggest weakness.
right,
And then, just that repentance, the unwillingness to betray that Charlie shows being rewarded by that ultimate he gets everything that he needed. He truly did need, a hope and a future that his parents or his mom, didn't have the ability to provide for him was that hope and he gets it. And yeah, I think that it's just one of those it's such a simple story, but it's really perfectly done in that. And it's something that just it doesn't need to be over explained because it's such a simple story. I think everybody kind of just yeah, they get it. And they have so much fun while doing it that it's a classic that will stay forever. So, if by some chance you have watched us and have not seen this movie before, definitely do go watch it.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, great movie musical. Whether you enjoyed it as a kid and grew up and never stopped liking it, or you're just really new to it, give it a shot, give it a chance. It's weird, it's fun, it's catchy music. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
And we will see you guys next time to talk about another musical and just have fun with
Absolutely.
it. See you next time.